Hey, Lockhart and beyond. Welcome to Season 3 of 78644. Now you can see the episodes as well as listen to it. If you still want to listen, you can on all the regular channels, but you can check us out on YouTube. So stay tuned for lots of changes in 2025. You know, they say that every town has a story, and this one is ours. I'm Stephen Collins, and this is 78644. Welcome to episode 41, Love Lockhart. In this episode, we're saying goodbye to Lockhart Arts and Crafts, sharing details about open mic night, and diving into tales from the heart with longtime residents sharing their love stories. We'll also chat with artist Nam Joti Kaur Khalsa about her show at Get Lucky Gallery, featuring a video from Voxtrot and local tracks, and wrap up with an exclusive interview with Texas legend Jaston Williams on his latest show, High Heels Cowboy Boots. I'm Stephen Collins, and this is 78644. Today we're celebrating something special and a little bittersweet, open mic night at Arts and Crafts here in Lockhart. For the past 4 years, it's been more than a stage. It's been a home for Lockhart's incredible talent, from pros to hobbyists, all sharing their music, stories, prose, and poems. But on March 1st, the curtain falls for the last time here at Arts and Crafts. Arts and Crafts are closing its doors, and while this chapter ends, we're sure open mic will find a new home. Thanks for all the music, the mixology, and the memories. You've given us more than a place, you've given us a community. Here's a taste of what made Arts and Crafts unforgettable. Cheers.
Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Lockhart Arts and Craft Open Mic Night. It's okay to be happy. Express yourself. My name is Chaz Bissett, and I'm very happy to be hosted last month, hosting this month, and I'll be doing the final open mic here at Lockhart Arts and Craft, March 1st. Mark your calendars. If this is the thing you like, you want to be involved, sign up if there's room on the list. And if you don't make it tonight, show up for that one. It's your last chance.
My name is Rebecca. I've written music for a lot of years, but then I spent a lot of years not playing and writing, so just getting back into it and a little rusty. And I just have one song, but this one is called People Pleaser, and it's about being a recovering people pleaser.
I've lived in Lockhart for long enough to where I can't remember how many years, over 15 years, and as long as I can remember Arts and Crafts being open, I have appreciated and participated in their open mic nights. I find them very refreshing and also very inspiring. I'm very grateful for all three of the ladies who opened the bar, Janet and their sweat to the appearance of it. Like, all the ideas felt like they're very appropriate and fun, and people really resonated with it a lot of other ways.
I've had bad dreams too many times.
So when I first started playing here, I thought it was a good way to get back into my music because I hadn't played this, and there was a nice little gap there. So when I started back, I was really, my daughter said, hey, I want you to sing at my wedding. It's been so many years, and that really made me nervous. But I started off with such stage fright, and every now and then it still hits me. I got to be really careful about sugars. But I used to come up here, and the words would just trip over themselves, and my fingers would get caught in this part of the guitar, and I couldn't pull them out. It was really hard. I think that you have to be a little brave to get up here. I'm thinking that.
My beautiful partner bought me a saw maybe 17, 18 years ago for my birthday. I was in a band that were kind of experimental, and it kind of fit with some of the things I was trying to play around with. But it took maybe 10 years before I could find a bow that works. It's just a violin bow, but the bow and the rosin is a weird thing. At some point, I found out how to make it zezimate and get home. And then at that point, actually Bear stepped up and let me just play along with him.
The little Lord Jesus lays down in sweet heaven. Lonely girls hang out at the bar and wait for him to arrive.
You know, I moved to Lockhart in January of 2020, and I knew the best way to get around and meet people would be take my talents to open mic, arts and crafts. And so I started going there last Friday of the month and meeting a bunch of people there and getting to play songs that I wrote and songs that I'd started writing. And I met a lot of people, and then it was really great because they lost somebody to move. Somebody moved away, and they asked me to start hosting. And I felt like I was a shoo-in because my dad used to host an open mic in San Marcos. And so I did that for about 2 years, and I felt like one of my favorite things to do was encourage others and then just get to see them shine. People like Kit, and I mean, she's just one of many examples of people that I feel like would come to me and be like, okay, I think I'm gonna do this. And then they would do it perfect. And I would say, oh my gosh, you know, I got to be kind of a part of that too. So watching other people grow, the community, I mean, it's cooler than church, really. And everybody would just hang out and listen to each other and, you know, learn from each other. So it's great, and I don't know what we're gonna do without it.
Well, as you know, February is the month of love. Whether you're celebrating Valentines, Galentines, or flying solo, love is in the air. We caught up with some of Lockhart's locals whose love stories have stood the test of time. You ever wonder how Mayor Lew White met his wife, Patti? No, probably not. Okay. Well, it's a sweet story with a Texas twist. Her brother skipped the wedding because it was dove season. If that tells you anything.
I'm Patti White.
And I'm Lew White.
We have an unusual meeting. We were working at Methodist Hospital in Houston, and it was 7 o'clock in the morning, and he comes up to me. I had just started back working there, and he comes up to me and says, have I seen you before? Or something like that. I was like, I don't think so.
I was in college, and I was in graduate school, and I was working at Methodist Hospital. She was a medical technologist, and I heard all these stories. Patti, her name at the time was Patti Lee. Patti Lee's coming back to work. So I introduced myself. We hit it off real well. We went out on a date. First date was at a hockey game. We started talking, and it just popped in my head. I asked her to marry me after 1 month. And just about that time, I had been accepted to dental school, and I think I got a whole lot better looking when she found out I had a future as a dentist.
Our first date, when I went out with him, I had never felt so comfortable with anybody else ever. And he put his arm around my waist as we were walking, and I just felt just safe and happy. And, you know, that was like, I really like this guy.
I didn't know what I was getting into there when we got married.
Oh.
She wanted to get married at this one church in Houston, and we got married in the chapel. And when we got married, we went, you know, got everything ready and everything. And my brother was the photographer, and he was my best man. So he was running back and forth, setting up all these shots. And Patti comes down the aisle. Her father walked her down the aisle, and she's got this big scowl on her face. And I'm looking at her like, my God, this isn't going to last 6 months. And I was so nervous, I didn't even notice the organist hadn't shown up. And so we had no music when she walked down the aisle. And they had made us use their organist. And this was on a Sunday. We got married on a Sunday afternoon. That was the only time we could get to chapel.
Well, it was also, my brother didn't show up because it was the first day of dove season.
He was a real winner. See, do I go to my sister's wedding or I go to dove hunting? So, and then as we came out, and she's That was the first time she really jumped on me about, didn't you hear it? Didn't you notice that the music wasn't playing? I said, honey, I was just getting through the wedding. And then as we came out of the church into the wedding room, here comes the cake. So the cake comes in at the last minute. So
Yes.
it was a comedy of errors, but it was.
It was a lovely wedding.
You can't picture, Leonard Skinner without Ronnie Van Zant, and Ronnie Van Zant without the high roller hat with the rattlesnake band on it. The high roller actually was created by my grandfather for my dad, who at the time was selling insurance in Waco. When he sent it to him, he put a note with it that, he wasn't anything but a high roller, wanted to go have coffee with the ladies. Selling insurance instead of coming back to work for him. Of course, that triggered it because he started selling more hats than he was insurance.
Come on down to Texas Hatters where we top the best.
Looking for a getaway with a little extra charm? Welcome to Birdie House, a stunning neoclassical Victorian mansion right in the heart of historic Lockhart, Texas, where small-town charm meets big-time memories. Whether you're booking a weekend retreat, weddings, or a photo shoot, Birdie House blends antique elegance with modern comfort for an unforgettable stay. And here's a little insider tip. When you book through Airbnb, tell the host to, quote, tip the band, and you'll get a discount. Ready to experience Texas hospitality at its finest? Visit birdiehouse.com to learn more. Birdie House. Stay a while. Make some memories.
When I take my sugar to tea, all the boys are jealous of me.
Well, thanks for tipping the band.
Join 78644 Friends, a community making sure musicians can thrive. For $5 a month, 100% of your donation goes straight to the artist. Thanks to our subscribers, we've raised over $8,000 and counting. Just recently, we tipped musician Dustin Welsh $474. By subscribing, you're truly helping. Sign up today at 78644podcast.com.
78644, tastiness, yes, ma'am.
Today in our local track segment, we're shining the spotlight on a band that's made a triumphant return in the music scene, Voxtrot. After years apart, they reunited in 2023, bringing their signature indie pop charm back to life with fresh energy and new music. Lockhart's own Jason Cronus holds down the bass for the band. As part of the video was filmed at the historic Dr. Eugene Clark Library behind me here. It's the oldest continuously operating library in Texas. So check out the video.
Culture wish this night would never end. I could dance forever like time is standing still. Feel the rush whenever I'm haunted by the dream. Yeah, the air tastes better, that's a spin. We're moving and I'm understanding life. Let it burn so sweetly. I separate the man from the myth completely. I realize after dark that the love won't leave me. That's a spin. We're moving. It's a scene in the movie where he makes his stand to say we won't be happy till we give our lives away. Will you still love me when the spotlight fades? Oh, that's some real shit, ain't it? I wish this night would never end. I could dance forever like time is standing still. Feel the rush whenever I'm haunted by the dream. Yeah, the air tastes better, that's a spin. We're moving and I'm understanding life. Let it burn so sweetly. I separate the man from the myth completely. I realize after dark that the love won't leave me. That's a spin. We're moving and me.
We've got one more tale from the heart to share, and that's the story of Wendy and Ray Ramsey, proud Lockhart locals who've called this town home for more than 30 years. Their journey's all about partnership and perseverance and the simple joys that make love last, no matter what her parents thought.
My name is Wendy Ramsey. I was Wendy Hoffman. We had our first date in 1969. We've been married 51 years. We were in high school, and Ray sat behind me in a speech class, and we flirted with each other quite a bit. And I was going steady with someone, as was he, but he would always pass me notes that were funny and kind of flirtatious in nature. And that's how we met.
Well, she sat right in front of me in Mrs. Robertson's speech class. So I was bitten. I couldn't not talk to her or not. And I'm not an assertive person. But anyway, we ended up doing a duet together at the speech thing and started dating and just never really stopped. Well, we stopped a little bit now and then, but not for long.
No, not for long. We dated after high school, both went to different colleges, but saw each other. Ray was playing in a band, and us would come in to UT to play for frat parties and that kind of stuff. And so we saw each other then. And my parents were opposed to me marrying someone outside of my religion who, by all purposes, appeared to be a hippie with no future. And sure enough, he turned out to still kind of be a hippie, but he had a really great future and has provided very well for both of us.
Well, I graduated in 1970 from high school, and she in 71. But yeah, from high school for the next 3 years, I was playing in bands on the road at frat parties and clubs, and yeah, it was not a.
He spent a lot of time
lifestyle.
driving around in the country, if you know what I mean.
So yeah. Anyway, yeah, I just lucked out in so many ways. You know, starting with never getting arrested, but yeah, just continuing to date Wendy, and things just got better and better.
Yeah, we snuck around. We had friends that had friends who would pick me up for a date, but then Ray would meet us in other places. But when we actually got married, we got married at the Denton Courthouse. It was Ray and I. I had on a halter dress with flowers on it and a little bouquet of daisies, and we had a few friends there. And then we drove back to Waco, and our friends drove my car, and Ray had a hippie van. And so we also had the van. We knew my parents were going to take my car away from me because they were opposed to us. We knocked on the door and said, "We're married." And yep, we were married. Everybody was anxiously awaiting the 9-month period, thinking that for sure it was because I was pregnant, but that is not true.
So we walk in the back door. He's sitting in his chair, and her mother is in the kitchen. And he looks up. I think he said, "You're married," or something like that. And then she said, and we said, "No, yes, we're married." And then her mother said, "You're pregnant." And we said, "No, we're not." The next thing he asked was, "Where are the keys to your car?" So, yes, he was furious. They were so disappointed. But
And as we were leaving, what did he do?
He said, "If you lay a hand on her, I'll kill you."
Ray had never he had laid his hands on me, which I was thankful of, but he obviously had never hurt me and never has.
No.
I was only 20, and Ray was 21, so we were super young. We had
everything we owned personally.
Yeah.
And $650 and a Ford van. Piece of crap.
no jobs, no
job.
place to live.
No place to live. Spent the first night in the Round Holiday Inn in Austin. Went out looking for apartments the next day. Found one.
We found our first apartment was on West State Street, right off of West State in Austin,
135. All bills paid.
Every time it rained, the commode backed up into the bathtub. And I couldn't drive Ray's van because I'm too short. So I took the bus downtown. I had a job downtown. And Ray worked construction and all kinds of different things. I think we are kind of sappy. And consequently, every single letter that Ray ever wrote me before or note that he passed me is in this box. And they're really ridiculous and sappy. Yeah. I mean, we can't even read them.
I would be mortified.
And sappy.
I would be mortified if everybody.
And every single birthday, anniversary card, whatever, we have saved.
Well, there is one thing I want to add, because I found this on the internet. I looked for the Lake Air Drive-In, which is fairly new when we were there. And so I made this card. We grew up in Waco. That our first date was at the Lake Air Drive-In. How cheesy is that to take your girlfriend on your first date with her to a drive-in movie?
And I had on hot pants and my green contact lenses. So,
and she kept all of that on. So, but that was 1969. Yeah.
In this next segment, the Artist Spotlight, we're featuring Joti Kaur Khalsa, owner and creator of Brooms and Baskets. Joti is a multimedia artist specializing in fiber and textile arts, a henna artist, and a meditation teacher. For over 9 years, she's been crafting braided brooms that explore the connection between fiber and lineage, blending functionality with magic and whimsy. Her work will be featured at Get Lucky Gallery for the month of February, alongside an all-female show at the Commerce Gallery. Come check it out.
My name is Joti Kaur Khalsa, and I am the owner of Blue Cypress Botanicals and broomsandbaskets.com. I was born in Virginia, and it wasn't until I moved to Texas as an adult that broom making came into my life. So a bit of the origin story. Back in 2011, I actually had a dream about what it means to sweep the floor. And that kind of set me on this quest as to, what does it mean to sweep the floor? And the brooms are certainly part of that, a physical standpoint and a spiritual standpoint. My first teacher was Karen Hobbs. She was living in Driftwood, Texas at the time, but she was actually born in Little Rock, Arkansas. And she taught me how to make a broom, something like this, which is a traditional Appalachian turkey wing whisk. And I worked with Karen for about 2 years, and then she actually passed. And since her death, I've kind of developed my own style of broom making and weaving. And my work, I would say, is greatly inspired by my dreams
and dream work. And it seems whenever I'm puzzled about where to go next, or if my inspiration seems to be dwindling, something always comes forward in a dream. My work is also deeply connected to my ancestors, my mother, my grandmother. And so the new work that I have here in Lockhart at Get Lucky Gallery is really inspired by the women in my family and my lineage, and just being a little girl and always having women braiding my hair. It was like, my aunts would braid my hair, my grandma would braid my hair, my mom would braid my hair. And I didn't actually like to get my hair combed. As a little girl, it was like the worst thing ever. But I just have these fond memories of having my hair braided. And when I started braiding brooms, I started having all these memories of just different times when someone would braid my hair, or when I've braided my own daughter's hair or my niece's hair. And so I have this new collection of braided brooms. My grandmother, Virginia, actually celebrated her 94th birthday yesterday. And when I was a little girl, she would make me and my sister all these beautiful dresses. And she would always say, there's nothing worse than a beautiful dress and an ugly bow. So she spent a lot of time with my sister and I teaching us how to tie really pretty bows on the dresses that she made. And my grandmother, growing up, always had this long braid going down her back. And I remember unbraiding her hair and combing her hair. So this multi-generational braided broom is really just in honor of my grandmother, in honor of my mother who left her body in 2021. And it's like two bigger brooms that are cradling this smaller broom. And so it's just a reminder to me that my grandmother and my mother and all of the women of my line are just always kind of cradling me and carrying me forward.
Hi, welcome to Commerce Gallery. Come on in. We have an all-women show in the month of February, 3 women artists. On this wall, we have Margot Lunsford. She is from Houston. This is our second time that we've shown her work. She's an amazing oil painter. And this is a whole totally new show with about 16 paintings from Margot. In the middle is Haley Marmolejo. This is our first time showing her work in the gallery. She is from San Antonio. We're super excited about having her in our gallery. She's really well loved, highly collectible. She's on our pop-up walls. Over here is the great Molly Brocklehurst. She lives in Austin. She's originally from London, moved to Austin a little over 3 years ago. This is our second show with Molly. And again, an all-new show from her for the month of February 2025.
Hey there, I'm here at the Stateside at the Paramount Theater, and we're diving into the wild, hilarious world of Texas theater legend and Lockhart local, Jaston Williams. His new show, High Heels Cowboy Boots, is packed with outrageous stories from Safeway drug bust to the baton twirler that had terrible aim. He's best known for the play Greater Tuna. Jaston takes us behind the scenes of his theatrical life, proving that showbiz is just as unpredictable as small-town Texas. So get ready for laughs, chaos, and a touch of discomfort.
It's called High Heels and Cowboy Boots, and which I spent the last 3.5 decades of my life wearing on stage. You know, my father one time, I was so worried about my father when he first saw the Greater Tuna plays, because I played a number of female characters, and I thought, he may not hold up well under this. You know, he's an old West Texas farmer. He came backstage and said, "What'd you think?" And he said, "You should have put that dress on 10 years ago." So as long as you're making money, you're a success. So, but it just seemed like the appropriate title. I hadn't been on the stage of the state for over a year, I guess. I usually do one show a year here. And I hadn't done anything in quite a while, and I I missed it. And so I pulled some material, some pieces that I already knew. I created some new work. I have one of my favorite pieces ever, and it's a big piece, was about my experience being a Boy Scout and a Cub Scout. And our scout troop, they did not give merit badges for what we were good at. In fact, I think they finally banished us from the legal scout camp. I think we were asked to take a couple of years off, but that's fine with us. We had a gambling tent, you know. So, and I had never done that piece for whatever reasons. I had never done that piece in Austin. I'm not sure how that fell. And I thought, I need to put that piece in. And then there were other pieces. And then there's a whole section where I talk about Joe Sears, because I thought when we wrote Greater Tuna, you know, which is a 2-person satire, multiple characters, I thought it would run at the most for 6 months, you know, in different little places in Texas. We ran for 3.5 decades. 3.5 decades. And at the end of it, we were the longest running comedy team in the country. You know, we did an HBO version, had a real good time. I tell you though, Joe and I are stage actors. We've done film, we've done all of that, but there is something honorable about going out and doing it over and over and over. And, you know, one thing I like about the theater is that, you know, you may have a really great matinee. Well, you got to do it again a few hours later. And I love that. It's like being an athlete. And I'm an old athlete now, you know. I can't do a lot of the physical things that I used to do. And, but I've found other ways of compensating for that. And again, the whole sections about Joe and I are the only reason this play was a hit is because Joe and I were friends for a decade before we ever wrote it. We had this rock solid friendship. We had laughed for a decade just among ourselves. And then we decided to put it on stage. And who knew? But it was a hit because we were so tight. And even the success we had of Broadway and HBO and off-Broadway and all the major theaters in the country, practically, that couldn't kill the friendship eventually. It strained it. It strained it for a while, but it couldn't kill it. And now Joe, I talk to Joe 2-3 times a week at least. And the deal is we have to make each other laugh. And this isn't a funny time. It's not a funny time in America, and it's important for people to laugh. And that's another reason I wanted to do this. Well, Lockhart has some amazing characters. You know, I got my windshield wipers changed yesterday at the Walmart, and the woman who changed them for me was one of the funniest, most likable. You know, it took 20 minutes because we were telling jokes back and forth, you know, and kind of a pistol-packing mama, you know, but she knew how to get those. She knew how to get them on, you know, and I said, can I tip you? She said, you're not supposed to. I said, well, oops, I dropped a $20 bill. So, but yeah, Lockhart has a whole lot of personality. There was one group that used to gather for breakfast at one of the places I used to eat at. I've got my favorite breakfast place now, but they're a pretty right-wing bunch. They were friendly to me because they'd seen my shows, but it was a little iffy. And I cracked a joke one day that I wanted to run for Lockhart School Board on a platform of corporal punishment for bad parents, that you just bring that bad parent in and beat the hell out of them at the pep rally. They were all like, we'll vote for you. I thought, you have to be careful when you're joking. But they thought that is a great idea. So, yeah, well, one of the things I talk about with Joe that a lot of people don't know is Joe and I are both from interracial families. We both raised children that were not of our race. My child is Asian. I adopted him in China. Joe never legally adopted, but practically adopted the daughter of a friend of his. She's Hispanic, And we got a take on racism that only comes from having children you love go through that kind of stuff. And I think racism is the scourge of this nation. And it's part of my job to point that out. And Joe's. And that's it. People come around. Sometimes. Some people are not going to come around. Some people are very, very comfortable with their hatred and their bigotry. But most people, if you can make them laugh and let them see your humanity, that was one of the things of we wanted to raise our son in a small town. That's one reason we moved to Lockhart. I'd grown up in small towns, and I liked the atmosphere. I felt safer. And there are people who probably wouldn't agree with me on very much, other than the fact that they agreed with the way I raised my child. That what we expected of him, the traditional Texas values of thank you, yes ma'am, yes sir, all of that, that's our boy. He's as Chinese as the day is long, but he's got traditional, kind, general, polite Texas values. And people would see that. So our son lightened the way for us in many ways. People saw how we raised the boy and they decided they liked us. So there you go.
We'd like to thank our sponsors, Texas Hatters, Wella Foods, and Thunderbird Bars, and our in-kind sponsors, Printing Solutions, Courthouse Nights, The Rock House Airbnb, Birdie House Airbnb, and Crystal Glaze Photography. 78644 is produced by Kate Collins, recorded at Troubadour Image and Sound in Lockhart, Texas, filmed in Lockhart, Texas, edited by GHA Marketing, social media managed by GHA Marketing and Crystal Glaze, other music by Stephen Collins. Our show is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon, Radio Public, YouTube, and everywhere else where podcasts are streamed. Thanks so much.